All right. On today's episode, we have a great guest, Megan from Not Just a Mom. I met Megan through a mutual friend, and we've been like internet friends or internet connected for a decent amount of time. We finally got the chance to meet in February in Playa del Carmen. So that was nice to like find internet friends to like actually meeting in person. There's always that like I love that.
I know you actually get to meet people in real life these days, and it was way fun.
Yeah, it was a good couple of days. Awesome. So, for the people who are joining the podcast today, what is Not Just a Mom?
So, Not Just a Mom is an entire brand and movement around moms who identify as more than just moms. So, being a mom is amazing. It's the coolest thing I've ever done. My daughter just turned 3. So I know we have a long time ahead of us, but I've loved every moment. But I am more than just a mom. I am a business owner. I am my own human person. I am a friend. I am, looking eventually to be somebody's romantic partner. And what happens so much is when we have kids and, especially moms, you really kind of lose who you are. You try really hard not to, but when you have this like baby literally attached to you, you grew them inside of you, you birthed them, they're attached to you. And I think even any mom experience, it's like you just become one human and you forget so much of who you are. Um, it can you can feel kind of lost, and I really experienced that. But I also had a business to run, and so as I was thinking about my experience, and I had other friends who had babies at the same time as me, but they weren't business owners. And I had friends who were business owners, but not necessarily in the trenches of new motherhood. So I wanted to create a brand and a movement that really encompassed all of it and encompassed being able to be more than just a mom, because we're not just moms.
Yeah, absolutely. And I have a lot of these conversations on and off podcast, and one thing that I've noticed more often than not is when a brand or a product or a service arises out of this like I built this because I needed it and it didn't have it, that the impact of it and the stickiness, if you will, of client retention or just people wanting more is usually much more profound than well, I heard that this was an industry challenge, so I made a solution to it. Have you found that like the your fans are raving fans, your customers are raving fans so far?
Yes, they have actually named themselves. They've named themselves Megan's Monsters, because a big part of my brand is actually building confidence and really like standing up for yourself, standing up for your worth, pricing your services at what they're valued, not what not related to your self worth. And so we've had a bunch of moms really start to flourish and make more money in a month working with me than they had the entire previous year. We've had people double and triple. And, they just really have begun to believe in themselves. And when they believe in themselves, like so does everybody else, and their businesses start to flourish. So they named themselves that, and I am all in on it.
Love it. I love it. So take me through how somebody interacts with you as a brand, as a product. Like take me through the different facets of it so we can talk granular about the marketing and eyeballs piece.
Yeah, absolutely. So it started off creating. So I've worn a few different hats in business. This is technically kind of my third career. So I started off as a dental hygienist, and I knew very early on that I would like top out and like wouldn't really have any room to grow. I'm very much like growth minded. I am very always wanting to grow and learn new things. So I went back and specialized into something called myofunctional therapy, which not a lot of people have heard of, but it's an entire field around physical therapy for like mouth breathing, sleep apnea, TMJ, clenching, grinding. So I went into that 8 years ago. I launched my global telehealth practice. And what I was finding is so many other moms and dental hygienists and occupational therapists were wanting to, again, grow. They're wanting to be able to have more flexibility at home. They want to be able to take their kids to kindergarten. They want to be able to pick their kids up after school. They want to be able to have the lifestyle of being a mom, but also a mom who is able to help provide financially for their family. So what I was finding is people would specialize and then not actually know how to run the business. So they have this dream, but there's this missing piece beyond that. And so I created the Business of Being a Boss program. And it is basically a business boot camp where we take you through the steps to learn how to grow your referral team, how to close your treatment sales, what to do with sales objections, but even deeper, all of the mindset, the money, the imposter syndrome, because women struggle so much with imposter syndrome. And then a huge marketing gauntlet. There's a prize package at the end. And so that's kind of my intro program. And then if you need more help afterwards, we have some one-on-one coaching. We have a group mastermind, the Mommy Mastermind, that continues in a group container working together. Or you can come actually, meet us beyond the screen in person. I have a retreat actually is going to be in May this year in Puerto Vallarta. And you can get in person with us too. Because again, as much fun as it is to be online all the time, like the in-person is really fun. And it's a great way to connect with people and also unplug and kind of leave everything else, all the other hats that you're wearing behind, and just get to be you for those 3 days, which is really cool.
Yeah. Yeah. One thing that I've noticed through my 10 years as being a marketing agency owner is that people that go through medical school for in whatever capacity, whether it's dental or physio, it doesn't really matter. That schooling includes zero how to run a business training. Like the amount of people I've spoken to that have no idea how to even count. They're like, I don't know, I can just charge a lot of money for the thing. And it's like, okay, but like margins, staff, overhead, like we know, and like, nope, we know nothing about the business side. Yeah, it's wild. And it's like these
Mhm.
are some of the smartest people, but they're so narrowly focused smart that a lot of other things are feel elusive. So that was one thing I noticed throughout my marketing career. So yeah, that's interesting. And then so the program that they come into, how does it work? Is it self-serve? Is it like a course format?
Yeah, so it's a live course format. So I teach live every week, and then there is a like group Facebook container, so everybody can be in there, support each other, post any concerns that they might have, if they need help with something. So it comes with a built-in community, and then generally what has happened is the community stays together. And I'll stay in like a Facebook group chat, and like because it's almost like a little like sorority sister thing that becomes of it, which is really cool. So they can continue to support one another as graduates of the course. So it's a live course. We are in the process of creating a recorded version to be able to reach more people and be able to kind of grow that outreach for people to be able to use it.
Got it. And are you overly fussy or particular about them being in that niche or in that field? Can it just be any business oriented mom?
So a service-based business is the ideal mom for this. Like they sell a service. We don't really speak about they probably could like swing a product if you really wanted to, but it really is more about like the service-based business. So if you're a mom who runs a service type business, whether it's, on my side, the healthcare side, or something like, an esthetician side or a lawyer or, a mental health therapist, anybody again here offering a service, that's who we're looking for.
Got it. Yeah, and I feel the same way. I like there's a lot of similarities between product and service, but there's enough differences that like
Yeah.
the messaging and the strategy, so many of it doesn't connect all the way. It's like 90% of the way, but like sometimes that 10% is the magic part that fixes problems and challenges. And so, yeah, a product versus service to me has to always be split. It's so difficult to bridge that gap. Okay, but yeah, so it can be any service-based mom. Okay, well, so how do people find you now, generally?
So some of it is I am a little bit famous in the myofunctional therapy world. People know me there.
Yeah.
I have a myofunctional therapy podcast, so I've kind of just grown my reputation there. I speak at events. So some of it is that side of my reputation. Otherwise, you can find me especially on Instagram. So at not just a mom underscore XO, or you can find me on Facebook. I'm pretty much on all the social medias. I've got
Got it.
my girl Aisha's managing all my social media. So
Yeah. And where, so from a actual like acquired customer standpoint, is it been primarily from my physical
Facebook
side?
groups. Mm-hmm.
Facebook
Yeah.
groups, yeah.
Facebook groups, some, and then some Instagram.
Got it. Got it. And do you, from where you're at now versus like where you want to be in terms of number of customers, we don't necessarily have to dive into the financials of it, but like where do you want to be with this? Do you want to like take over the internet in this space? Do you want to
Always.
just that's true, knowing you, of course. But you know what I mean? Like, so right now you acquire X number of customers per month. Is it like, yeah, I want like to be happy, I want to see that like double, I want to see that triple, I want to see that 10x, I want to see that 100x. Like where's your vision for it? Because I think what our end goal is and how and who we want to serve can often dictate the marketing. And what I mean by that is sometimes we just need, three or four $100,000 a year customers and everything's good. Or sometimes we need 100,000 $3 a year customers, right? And so working backwards from that logic helps from a marketing lens. So how are you thinking about that?
So I think my ideal, because I get both sides of the coin, right? I get like, yeah, if you only have to have 10 customers who pay you $100,000 a year, like, or it's all good, right? But there's more than 10 moms out here in the world, and there's more than 10 moms who need help, right? So for me, I actually want to do the opposite. Like on my like vision board wall over here is by the time it's all said and done, I want to be able to help hundreds of thousands of moms, right? So my ideal, my first step would be I'd love to be able to help 1,000 moms and then 10x that to 10,000. And again, just continue to grow that because, there's so many out there and there's so many who need help. And, only 18% of women who run businesses, women entrepreneurs, make six figures and only 2% make seven. And I think that's absolutely crazy. And I want to be the linchpin. I want to be somebody who like turns that number upside down. And that's not going to cut it with like 10 people. Like we need to get like the tens of thousands of moms making six figures. And so that's really my big vision.
All right. So, I mean, if I dissect this just from the like pure, just raw, pure marketing lens, I mean, I think at some point ads are in your future. I know we've talked a little bit offline about, um, how do we inject paid ads? Because I think when you're creating a movement like this, you're creating incredible stories. You're creating these touch points with people that are going to really like shock. Like people are going to resonate with it like at their core of like, oh my God, I was there. They're there now. Like, how do I get on this train? How do we do it? And so I think visual and video ads are going to be really important. I actually just started some for myself. So we're driving people to basically a video that explains what it is that we do, where it then goes into an application. But on the front end, we're running a bunch of different videos to see, okay, with these five videos, what are the people that are watching, at least 50% of the video? And then if those people are watching like the training style video or like the kind of more how to, more practical, more hands on, less aspirational, less inspirational, but more technical. If people are watching that, then what we're doing is we're running, video testimonial ads of like I was here and I got there and this improved working with Mike. And so from there we're now saying, okay, someone's interested in how to do it. And now we're building trust, showing them that, hey, other people have trusted Mike and they got that thing that they wanted. And then down the funnel from that, it's like basically just a black and white, do you want this outcome? Click on it or don't click on it. But that's how we're priming people. We're seeing like, okay, because when you pick uh, a target on social media ads, for example, it's often a very, very big pool. So it's saying, okay, well, there's, 35 million people in this pool, right? And so
Mhm.
you start running an ad to them, it's going to take a really long time for all 34 million people to see it, let alone if you want to target multiple different types of people or different, um, not categories, but different like interests or different um, things that they've identified or based on their search patterns or things like that. And so what I find is, yeah, so we what I recommend if as you're getting into that, it's about how do you ask as late as possible while still being profitable. Like that's a really challenging thing where most people they put an ad that's like, I have this thing, come buy it. And it's like, okay, sure. I mean, okay, well, I guess I'll look at the page. But I found over the years that the conversion of those is more difficult versus if someone's seen your face and your voice and your branding a few times before the financial ask, it creates this like I know this person, I trust this person, and as you know, I mean, it's a common thing to hear. But people buy from people that they know, like, and trust. Or
Mhm.
the one that I feel is very important is people buy when they feel that you understand them, and so
Yes.
leaning into the education, then leaning into the like the story of somebody succeeding with your content and then saying, hey, do you want help with this as well? That's been something that we've played with historically and it's worked really well. So something to think about as you get into the ad space. But I think even before that, um, the thing that always gets me and the strategy of how you do it is always a little bit tricky because you don't want to come across as that person in these places. I know you mentioned Facebook groups already, but mom Facebook groups are insane. Like
Mhm.
the
Insane.
reach, the engagement, like
Mhm.
when they sink their teeth into something and they believe in it, it's like the power of it is incredible. The challenge is always like, what do we put there so that we're not out preaching or selling
Yes.
or whatever, because that's a very easy way to get booted out of these groups. And so as I'm thinking about your situation, one thing that I've done in the past is join a group, be of value forever and ever and ever, and then let people approach you when they feel like they want it. And so a couple things I think about for you is like you've probably got video trainings that are like very practical, very hands
Mhm.
on, that probably like, get people right in the gut. Like, oh man, I have this problem. Oh, this is a solution. Amazing. And I wonder if whether you just go and do it, or what I tend to do is ask the admin of the group permission. Hey, I do sell a service. Yes, this is the audience that I would be going after, but I promise I will not, overtly, I won't blast out calls to action. I won't, whatever. I will be of value first. Sometimes it doesn't fly. Sometimes they're like, no, I see what you're doing. I'm not going to let you do it, even if you're providing value. But I find that reaching out to the group admins to get permission and then just honestly putting in the stuff that they're going to get in that course straight into that group.
Mm.
One weird thing I've seen is people think, oh, if I give away the modules for the modules for this thing, or I give away these video trainings, then they're going to feel like, oh, I can take this away and do it myself. But the truth is, people buy content that's organized in a way for them to understand it. So you could literally have every single video you've ever done in this training out on the internet, but someone will pay for like the support, for the fact that it's in order, for the fact that it's instructional, which is a weird phenomenon, but very
Mhm.
true.
Yes. Yes, it is. I have experienced that because I have given out bits and pieces, and I have like offered things for free. Um, and usually the people who got it for free then move into being buyers because they're like, oh, I want more.
Yeah.
I want to be able to talk to you.
Yeah. And so I think as you're like recording these modules, or you have some stuff that's recorded that you have, permission to put out there, I would think about putting that out with no call to action, with nothing but if I click on your profile and I come, I'm obviously going to see what you do if I go to your Facebook profile. So that's a really good way. And people do get nervous about that because, like, well, there's no step, there's no call to action. I mean, it's the point, because it's an audience that you don't own. And when you're borrowing that attention, the least you can be raising your hand saying, come take this thing, the better. So that's an idea for you. Another idea that I really like is finding the conversation threads in those groups where you can be of value. And so what I do for myself is I'll go into a group. You can search for keywords in that group, like in the actual conversation thread. And if I find something where it's like hot topic, I've got some really good thought process on it, I'll actually record a Loom video, and I'll walk through and like dive deep into the challenge. So someone will say, "Oh, I'm going to launch this consulting website. Any feedback would be great." I'll launch a 9-minute video on that, and then post the link to that feedback video in the group. Couple things you can do on Loom that's really cool. You can actually add a URL. So if I've gone and
Mm,
I've watched the thing and I'm like, cool, like, do you want, and so sometimes it's just going to the newsletter. Sometimes if it's like sales strategy stuff, I'm like, hey, if you want, we can jump on a 15-minute, sales strategy call. And I find that once you've given your enough time and energy, like a 9-minute instructional video is huge. I find that people are not resistant to a call to action from there. And right in Loom, you can actually add the URL, and it just hovers over your video the whole time. So it's like that indirect CTA, but it's like really value first. So that might be something.
yeah, I like that. Yeah,
And
I like
then,
all of those.
hmm, and then I feel like your biggest growth engine should be referral. And
Mm-hmm.
oftentimes getting people to take that action can be tough, even if they love you. Like I've had customers who are like, "Oh, you fundamentally changed my business." I'm like, "Cool. Can you connect me with other people just like you who are in your friend group?" And it's like, "Oh yeah, 2.5 years later, I got one referral from them." And it's not their responsibility to do it when they're not being financially incentivized. It's like, well, I'm going to take time out of my day and do work for you. And even if it's so funny with reviews and those things, it's like if we have a bad experience, we have no problem complaining about it. But sometimes when we have a great experience, it just like it doesn't come naturally to like, oh, I want other people to have the experience that I had. And so if you thought at all about how to get your existing base to bring, if your existing base were to bring 3 people each, you know
Right.
it'd be kind of game over. Have you thought about that at all?
Yeah, and they're pretty good about referring people. So
Okay.
there's been about like 5 to 10 each round that have been referrals from the previous group. So
Wow.
we just got to get the group keep sending more and more. Hmm.
Yeah. I mean, geez, obviously that as the further it gets away from the original people, like obviously the less
Hmm.
that happens. Um, but I mean, at that pace, that's like you're sitting on a gold mine with that, truly. I've never had anybody tell me that they have that level of referral base.
Yeah, yeah, like I said, they're Megan's monsters. They're out here recruiting all the time. And part of it is because, right, they've had so much success. And they see their friends and they see the other people there who are like on the Facebook groups or who are in these places and they're saying how much they're struggling and they're like, "Hey, we have this solution." Because the reality is in my market where I'm at right now, nobody's teaching what I'm teaching. There's a lot of the intro, there's a lot of the how to, just like a lot of these, like, these schools that teach you the skills, but not teach you the how to as far as like run a business. So nobody's really doing that part of what I do. And so, I mean, that's why I created it, right? Because I knew that was missing in the market because people were telling me that all of the time. So now they see other people, newbies and other people out here being like, I don't know how to do it. And they're like, this is the only one, right?
Got it. Yeah.
So that is the nice part. But again, I took
Yeah.
what I knew. I knew this is what was missing and I created it because I've been in the field for almost 10 years. So I know.
Yeah. Yeah. One thing that might be of benefit and would help to compound this for you is maybe creating like a simple but like kind of really pointed asset library for people who are interested in sharing. Because it's nice, obviously, if someone sees it in a mom group and they're like, oh, you got to talk to Megan, like getting tagged in those and like becoming micro
Hmm.
celebrities inside of those will always work well. Um, but sometimes, they reach out to the original poster and like, oh, well, what is it about? It's like, what is that link or that video or that those couple assets where like your clan knows kind of where that stuff is, and it's like that, like what is the highest performing potential stuff that they could share, and how do you make that easy for them to access? um I think that's something, and not that you want them like posting advertisements for you in the groups, but I suspect that you'll get tagged in something, but it's like, what is the language in the response that would be the most beneficial to you? What is the resource that someone could point them to if they're like, oh, I'm cool, like I'd really love to learn more. Ah, cool, this is like a great place to start. Because sometimes the homepage of the website is not that thing for someone who's
No.
not a warm, you know what I mean, someone who's not warm, who's kind of on the outside. And I do wonder if you were creating some like maybe some landing pages where it's like the opt-in's a little bit lighter. The opt-in is maybe the email, subscribe to the email rather than buy the thing, where it's like,
Hmm.
new eyeballs who aren't warm, who aren't like a direct referral. What's the easiest landing pad for them to get in, experience a bit of the tribe, and then bump them up to the next product if it's a good fit for them.
Hmm. I have a lot of on YouTube. So would you send him over to the YouTube channel, or would you do like an opt-in email that then has that as the library?
The YouTube can be powerful. It's less of an owned audience though. So it's
Right.
like if YouTube changes stuff, like I mean Instagram changes, then like half your followers don't see your stuff anymore. I mean these platforms all go in that direction. One thing I would recommend if you do YouTube is like at the beginning of the videos, hey, make sure you subscribe to make, get alerts that the next piece of content's coming out. Most people don't ask for the subscription, but asking for the subscription is actually really easy, and it's like that no brainer. I'm at the beginning watching, it's like, oh yeah, okay, I can do that, boom. And then it's like that little bit of extra notification, that little bit of extra FaceTime, virtual FaceTime with someone as you publish content. So I'd recommend doing that. And then I would also sometimes have a call to, why would you come from here to join the email list? Like, what is the incentive? And there always has to be a different reason. And the truth is, the stuff we're putting out in email is the same that's on YouTube, the same that's everywhere else. And the only real difference is like people want to communicate with us and they want to experience us in the ways that they want to do it. But it doesn't mean we can't market them the same. We have to incentivize, like, what's the reason? Oh, you're going to get, really hard hitting long form exclusive, and then moving them to the place where we have the best chance of conversion is always the answer. Usually that's email list, because email list is, you know I've given its implied consent to be emailing to my inbox, where I know I'm going to get it, versus if I don't go on YouTube for a few weeks, okay, I might not land on it. So for me, that has been the biggest source of growth and revenue generation of any medium I've seen. But you always have to, how do you feed that beast?
Right. Hmm.
Yeah.
Makes total sense.
Yeah. But YouTube, yeah, YouTube is a soft landing place, but I would just encourage people and have that ask every once in a while of, hey, if you want these extra cool things, these extra beneficial things, pop over to the email list. Because, yeah, I think the more that you can own that ecosystem of attention, it's always going to work. And I think as your product and your things evolve, being able to like let people know about them, right? Because I think we all have this vision of, oh, okay, I do this thing, there's these three offerings I have. You don't know when you're going to stumble on the thing that's going to make more impact and be like, oh man, everybody needs to know that this thing is available now. And so I think email, yeah, to me that's the strongest place to be. Or text.
Texting. Moms love to text.
Text, yeah, I mean text as a marketing medium is really really tough.
I think that'd be
I've seen a
hard.
lot I've seen a lot of brands do it. 99% of brands do it horribly. um, I you know Musicians I've seen do it really really well. Creators sometimes do it well. But you got to remember, it's different than email. It's like you're landing in my phone with a 100% open rate. Like, I don't want to see crap in here.
Right.
It's got to hit, and it's got to feel natural, and it's a tough medium to master for sure. So it's not the right fit for, I'd say, 99% of businesses. It's not the right fit, but
And they do it anyways.
they do, and it's done horribly.
We'll
um,
stick to the email list for now. We'll stick to the email list because moms are also very much like, oh my gosh, I meant to text you back 12 days ago. So sorry. And we all understand that, you know. Here's this half-written text I wrote you when I was like trying to like change a diaper. Like,
yeah, but yeah, I mean, I think you're really onto something there with the referral network, and I would unpack the best, like, I think it's a different funnel than all of your other marketing funnels. And I think taking a step back to say, okay, someone tags me, it gives me some credibility, but I'm still disconnected and they still don't know me. They still don't know my content, and they still don't know what I offer and what I can do. They just saw one person tag me in it. So thinking, like, taking a step back and being like, okay, in this person's mindset, they're like, okay, someone in this group said this person is good. That feels good. That builds some credibility and some leverage for you. But moving that person to a place where they have to take out their credit card might be a really tough first step for somebody, because their mindset is still like, well, I don't know, will this work for me? I don't even know this other person who tagged me. Like, I don't even know what their situation was to know if we're the right thing. And so you may have an email opt-in page that actually has a different sequence than your normal welcome sequence. That's specifically for, hey, if you're, listing me on you're putting my contact into Facebook groups, or you're sending it wherever, like, send them this link instead. And it could be a separate welcome thing where it's like connecting with them and their potential challenges, showcasing some case studies and testimonials, showcasing some FAQs, and then asking them for whatever you feel like the next step would be. But I actually think I would have a completely separate email sequence for that type of person.
yeah, that makes total sense.
Yeah, cool.
I love it. I love it.
Any
I feel
other
like I got a big to
thoughts?
do list. I feel like I have a big to do list. Every time we talk, I feel like I have a big to do list, but it's not a bad to do list. I like a to do list.
Well, perfect. Any other thoughts, comments, as we close up?
No, I think that's awesome. Of course, any of your listeners can follow me and subscribe to all of my social medias, right?
Yeah, that was my next piece. You beat me to it. Go ahead. You mentioned it's in the name here, and if you're
Mhm.
listening, you can find Megan.
At not just a mom underscore XO. And then you can also find me on Facebook under my name, Megan Vanoy. And YouTube, I think I'm all branded to the not just a mom underscore XO at this point. So
Awesome. Well, I'll link that all up in the show notes, and I wish you all the best on your movement to fix mom businesses. I love it.
thank
Um,
you.
all right, have a great one.